The phone rang at 2:47 inches the morning. I knew because I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, the way I had every night since Robert died 3 years ago. The sound cut through the dark like a knife. I reached for it with shaking hands. Nobody calls at 2:47 a.m. with good news. Mrs. Chen? A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, from the International Relief Foundation in Bangkok. I'm sorry to call at this hour, but is this Margaret Chen? Mother of Ethan Chen? My chest tightened. I hadn't heard anyone say his name like that in years. Not as a memory, not as a ghost, as a real person who existed somewhere. Yes, my voice came out broken, but my son, Ethan, passed away 16 years ago. There was a pause. The kind of pause that changes everything. Mrs. Chen, I need you to sit down. Can you do that for me? I was already sitting. Had been for hours in the armchair by the window, wrapped in Robert's old cardigan that still smelled faintly of his aftershave. But I didn't tell her that. I'm sitting. 3 weeks ago, a man was brought to our medical facility in Chiang Mai. He'd been in a motorcycle accident, head trauma. When he regained consciousness, he started remembering things. Fragments at first, then more. Mrs. Chen, he gave us your name. He says he's your son. He says his name is Ethan Chen, and he disappeared in 2009. The room spun. Or maybe I did. I couldn't tell anymore. That's not possible. The words felt hollow even as I said them. We held a memorial service. The Thai authorities identified his remains, his wallet, his watch, his... I know this is overwhelming, but I need to ask you something. Does your son have a birthmark? Crescent moon shape? Left shoulder blade? My hand went to my throat. Nobody knew about that. Nobody, except family. It was our little secret. When Ethan was small, I used to trace it with my finger and tell him it meant he was magic, that the moon had kissed him when he was born. How? I couldn't finish the sentence. He's been living in a village about 60 kilometers north of Chiang Mai. He had no memory of who he was. Complete retrograde amnesia from what we can piece together. The locals called him Kai. He's been there for 16 years, Mrs. Chen, teaching children English, working in rice paddies. And he had no idea who he was until 3 weeks ago, when that motorcycle accident somehow unlocked something. I was crying. I didn't realize it until I tasted salt. You're saying my son is alive. I'm saying there's a man here who might be your son. We need to verify. We need DNA testing. We need you to be prepared for any outcome. But Mrs. Chen, he knew about the birthmark. And he's asking for you. He keeps saying something about stars. My breath caught. See you in the stars. Yes, those exact words. What does that mean? I had to close my eyes. I was back in Ethan's bedroom 25 years ago. Him at 13, too old for bedtime rituals, but still asking for them anyway. Me kissing his forehead. Him whispering, "See you in the stars, Mom," before turning over to sleep. Every single night until he left for college. It means he's my son. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. How could this be real? How could someone survive 16 years with no memory? How could the Thai authorities have made a mistake? We'd buried him. Well, not him. An empty casket, because there wasn't enough left to bring home. But we'd buried the idea of him, the hope of him. Mrs. Chen, I have a flight number for you if you're willing to come. We need to do this properly, DNA verification through our medical facility here. But I should warn you, he looks different. Older, obviously. Weather-worn. He has scars we can't account for. And his memories are still fragmented. He remembers you. He remembers something about apple pie and singing. But there are gaps. Big ones. Apple pie. My grandmother's recipe. The one I'd never written down. The one Ethan and I used to make every Sunday morning. Just the two of us in the kitchen, him standing on a stool when he was little, reading off ingredients I'd taught him by heart. 6 apples, never Granny Smith. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, never 3. Butter in the crust, never margarine. And at the end, we'd always cut a star pattern in the top. Always a star. I'll be on the next flight. I'll email you the details, Mrs. Chen. I don't want to give you false hope, but I also don't want to take away real hope. This man, he could be your son. We'll know soon. She hung up. I sat there in Robert's cardigan, in our house that had been too quiet for 3 years, in the same chair where I'd sat 16 years ago when the call came that Ethan was missing. When the Thai police said they'd found remains, when they sent us his belongings in a sealed bag that I'd never opened, that was still in the attic, that I couldn't bear to look at. I looked at my hands. 64 years old. When did that happen? When did I become the old woman with the dead husband and the dead son? When did I stop being Maggie Chen who made Sunday morning apple pies and sang, "You Are My Sunshine" off-key? The flight information came through at 3:15 a.m. Atlanta to Bangkok, then a smaller flight to Chiang Mai. 32 hours of travel. The email included a photo. I almost didn't open it. Almost. The man in the photo had Ethan's eyes. Or did he? Was I seeing what I wanted to see? His face was leaner, harder, sun-damaged skin, a scar through his left eyebrow, hair longer than Ethan ever wore it, pulled back. But the shape of his face, the way his left ear stuck out slightly more than his right, that had been Ethan's thing, what he'd been self-conscious about as a teenager. I called my daughter. It was 3:30 a.m. She answered on the first ring. "Mom? What's wrong?" "Sarah." I didn't know how to say it. "I need you to do something for me. I need you to go up to the attic and get the box. The one from Thailand. The one with Ethan's things." Silence. "Mom, just do it. Please." She did. I heard her climbing the attic stairs, heard the sound of boxes being moved, then her voice, tight with old pain. "I have it. What do you want me to do?" "Open it." "Mom, we shouldn't." "Sarah, open it." I heard the tape being cut, the rustle of paper, then her sharp intake of breath. "It's his wallet, his watch, his oh God, Mom, why are we doing this? Look at the watch. What's engraved on the back?" More rustling. Then her voice, barely a whisper. "See you in the stars." "Mom, why?" "What else is in the box?" "His phone. Water damaged. Some papers. A weight." Her voice changed. "Mom, there's a passport here." My heart stopped. "Read me the name." "Marcus Sullivan. American. This isn't Ethan's passport." "Mom, what's happening?" I told her. Everything. The call. The man in Chiang Mai. The birthmark. The apple pie. The stars. She was quiet for a long time. Then, "I'm coming with you." "Sarah." "Mom, I'm coming. If there's even a chance. If there's even a 1% chance. I need to know. Ethan was my brother. I need to know." So we booked tickets. Both of us. 2 women who'd already buried the same person once, flying across the world to maybe bury him again. Or maybe I couldn't let myself think it. Maybe. The flight was endless. Sarah slept. I couldn't. I kept thinking about the timeline. Ethan had been 22 when he disappeared. He'd graduated from UGA with a degree in English literature and a minor in education. He'd wanted to see the world before settling down. "Just 1 year, Mom," he'd said. 1 year teaching in Thailand, then I'll come home and get a real job." 1 year turned into forever. The tsunami hit in December 2009. Not the big one from 2004. A smaller one that caught everyone off guard. Ethan's school was in a coastal village. When the water receded, 6 people were missing, including my son. It took 3 weeks to find remains. Badly damaged. Dental records were inconclusive, too much water damage, they said. But the belongings matched. The location matched. The timeline matched. We'd had no reason to doubt. But now I did. Because someone named Marcus Sullivan had been carrying Ethan's wallet and watch. And someone else had been living in a village for 16 years with no memory and my son's birthmark. We landed in Bangkok at 11 p.m. local time. Another 2-hour flight to Chiang Mai. By the time we reached the International Relief Foundation's medical facility, it was almost 2 a.m. 16 hours of travel. I looked like death. Dr. Mitchell met us in the lobby. She was younger than I'd expected. Maybe 40. Kind eyes. Exhausted. Mrs. Chen. Sarah. Thank you for coming. I know how hard this must be. Where is he? My voice was steady. Steadier than I felt. He's sleeping. But I can take you to see him if you'd like. Just prepare yourselves. He may not be what you're expecting. She led us down a corridor. White walls. Fluorescent lights. The smell of antiseptic. She stopped at a door marked 304 and looked at me. Ready? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. The room was dark except for a small light over the bed. A man lay there, sleeping. Thin. Too thin. His face turned toward the window. From this angle, I couldn't see him properly. I stepped closer. My legs felt like water. He shifted in his sleep, turning toward us. And there, in the dim light, I saw him. Ethan's nose, Ethan's jawline, Ethan's left ear sticking out just slightly more than the right, but also not Ethan. 16 years of sun and work and hardship etched into skin that should have been young. Scars I didn't recognize, hands that were calloused and rough. I couldn't finish. Dr. Mitchell nodded. You can sit. Try not to wake him yet. We'll do formal introductions in the morning. DNA collection will happen then too. But I didn't sit. I stood there, frozen. Sarah's hand found mine. Mom, she whispered, look at his hands. I looked, and there, on his right hand, the pinky finger bent slightly inward at the tip. Ethan had broken it when he was 9, falling off his bike. It had healed wrong. We'd always meant to get it fixed, but never did. It's him, Sarah breathed. Oh my God, Mom, it's him. But I couldn't let myself believe it. Not yet. Not until I knew for sure. We spent the night in a nearby room Dr. Mitchell had arranged. Neither of us slept. At 6 a.m., we heard movement in the hallway. Voices, then a knock. Mrs. Chen? He's awake. He's asking for you. My hands were shaking so badly Sarah had to help me button my cardigan, Robert's cardigan. I'd brought it with me. I didn't know why. Doctor. Mitchell led us back to room 304. The door was open this time. Morning light streamed through the window. And there, sitting up in bed, was the man from the photo. He looked up when we entered. His eyes, Ethan's eyes, green with gold flecks, met mine. Mom? The word broke something in me. Broke it and healed it at the same time. I don't know if I'm allowed to call you that yet, he continued. His voice was rough, accented, in a way Ethan's never was. I don't remember everything, but I remember you. I remember your face. I remember. He squeezed his eyes shut. I remember singing, in the morning, you and me. You are my sunshine. I was across the room before I knew I was moving, standing by his bed, looking down at this man who might be my son. Can I see your shoulder? My voice was steady now, clear. He understood. Slowly, he pulled his hospital gown aside. There, left shoulder blade, crescent moon, exactly where it had always been. My magic mark, he said softly. You used to trace it with your finger. You said the moon kissed me. I sat down, hard, in the chair beside his bed. Tell me what you remember. Pieces. He looked frustrated. I remember a house, yellow, with a porch swing. I remember a dog, black lab. Name started with B? Bailey? No, Baxter. Biscuit, I corrected. His name was Biscuit. He smiled, and there was Ethan. In the smile, in the way his eyes crinkled at the corners. Biscuit, right. And I remember the kitchen, Sunday mornings. We made, he frowned, concentrating. Pie, apple pie. You taught me the recipe. Never wrote it down. Said it had to live in here. He tapped his chest. In the heart. 6 apples. Never Granny Smith, he continued. 2 teaspoons cinnamon. Never 3. Butter in the crust. Never margarine. And we cut a star in the top. Sarah made a sound. Half sob, half laugh. And at bedtime he went on. You'd sing. You are my sunshine. My only sunshine. And then I'd say, see you in the stars, I finished. See you in the stars, he echoed. We sat there, the 3 of us, suspended in a moment that felt impossible. Dr. Mitchell cleared her throat gently. We should do the DNA collection now. We'll have results in 72 hours. But based on what I'm hearing, she looked at me. I think we can proceed with cautious optimism. The testing was quick. A cheek swab. That was all it took to potentially prove that my son had been alive for 16 years while I thought he was dead. After Dr. Mitchell left, I asked the question I'd been holding in. What happened? Where were you? He looked down at his hands, the calloused, scarred hands that had once been soft, that had once struggled with video game controllers and held baby birds we'd rescued from the yard. I don't remember the tsunami. I don't remember anything from before I woke up in the village. The people there said an old fisherman found me on the beach. 3 days after the water came, I was unconscious, badly hurt, head trauma, broken ribs. The fisherman's wife nursed me back to health, but when I woke up, he made a helpless gesture. Nothing. No name. No memory. No idea who I was or where I came from. I spoke English, they knew that much. So they called me Kai. It means strong in Thai. 16 years, I said. You lived there for 16 years. I didn't know any different. It was my life, my only life. I taught the village children English, helped with the rice harvest. I had friends. I had a routine. I was happy, in a way. But there was always this feeling, like I was waiting for something, like there was somewhere I was supposed to be. What changed? Sarah asked. Why now? The motorcycle accident. 3 weeks ago. I was hit by a car on the main road, woke up in the hospital and... He touched his head. It was like a dam breaking. All these images, faces, places, names, you. He looked at me. Your face, over and over, and the words, see you in the stars. I must have said it 100 times before the doctors called Dr. Mitchell. She works with cases like mine, missing persons. She knew how to track you down. The belongings, I said, your wallet, your watch, they were found with someone else's body. He frowned. I don't understand that part. I had them when I arrived at the school. I remember that much now. I had my backpack, my wallet, my watch with the engraving. But after the tsunami, he shook his head. Maybe someone else found them. Maybe in the chaos, things got mixed up. Dr. Mitchell said it happens more often than people think. Misidentification in mass casualty events. We talked for hours. He told us about his life as Kai, the village, the children he'd taught, the Thai family who'd taken him in, the festivals and the monsoons, and the slow, quiet life he'd built from nothing. And slowly, he remembered more. Our house on Oakwood Drive, his bedroom with the astronomy posters, his best friend from high school, Marcus, his sister's terrible attempts at cooking, his father's terrible jokes, the tree in the backyard where we'd hung a tire swing, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, college applications, everything. But there were gaps, big ones. He didn't remember his last day in Thailand before the tsunami, didn't remember the school he'd been teaching at or the other teachers, didn't remember anything about Marcus Sullivan, the man whose passport had been in the box with his belongings. Dr. Mitchell thinks the trauma was too severe, he explained. The immediate memories around the accident are just gone, may never come back. The 72 hours of waiting for DNA results were the longest of my life, longer than the 3 weeks we'd waited for news in 2009. longer than the years after, because this time there was hope. Dangerous, beautiful hope. Sarah and I stayed in Chiang Mai. We ate meals in the hospital cafeteria. We sat with Ethan. I started calling him Ethan. I couldn't help it and filled in the gaps. We showed him photos on our phones. Videos. His face when he saw footage of himself at 18, goofing around in our backyard. His face when he saw his father, alive and laughing in a Christmas video from 2015. He passed away? Ethan's voice was thick. Dad? 3 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. He didn't suffer. I don't remember him dying. You couldn't have. You were. I couldn't say dead. You were here. On the third day, Dr. Mitchell came to find us in the waiting room. Her face was unreadable. Mrs. Chen. Sarah, can you come with me? We followed her to her office. She closed the door, pulled out a folder. The DNA results are back. I couldn't breathe. It's a match. 99.9% certainty. This is your son. This is Ethan Chen. Sarah collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I just stood there, numb. After 16 years of grief, of carrying the weight of his loss, of learning to live in a world without him, he was back. How soon can we take him home? I asked. There are procedures, immigration issues since he's been here without documentation for 16 years. But we have lawyers who specialize in this. Repatriation cases. It'll take a few weeks, maybe a month, but he'll come home. Home, the word felt strange. Our house wasn't his home anymore. He'd spent more years in Thailand than he ever had in Atlanta. He'd built a whole life there. Does he want to come home? The question came out small. Dr. Mitchell smiled. Why don't you ask him? We found him in the garden behind the medical facility. He was sitting on a bench, watching the sunset. When he heard us approach, he turned. Hey, he smiled. That Ethan smile. Hey yourself. I sat beside him. Sarah sat on his other side. So, he said, I guess it's official now. I'm really your son. You really are. I've been thinking, he said slowly, about going back, to Atlanta, to the house, to my life. But it's been 16 years. I'm 38 now. I'm not the same person who left. None of us are, I said. The village. The family who took me in. That's my life too. I can't just abandon them. We're not asking you to. He looked at me. Really looked. What are you asking? I'm asking you to give us a chance. To know you. To have you back in our lives in whatever way works. Maybe that means you split your time. Maybe that means you stay here and we visit. Maybe that means something else entirely. But Ethan, I've missed you every single day for 16 years. I just want to know you're alive. That's enough. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I remember more now. Since the DNA test, it's like my brain was waiting for permission to remember. I remember Dad teaching me to drive. I remember Sarah's high school graduation. I remember the day I left for Thailand. You cried at the airport. I did. You made me promise to call every Sunday. You did. For the first 8 weeks. And then the tsunami came. He looked down. I'm so sorry. For all those years, for making you think I was dead. It wasn't your fault. But I could have tried harder. To remember. To find my way back. Ethan. I took his hand. The scarred, calloused hand. You survived. That's what matters. You survived and you built a life and you kept going. And now you're here. That's more than I ever hoped for. Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. We're just glad you're alive, dummy. He laughed. A real laugh. Dummy. Sarah called me that all the time. Because you were, she said. But she was smiling through tears. We sat there as the sun set over Chiang Mai. 3 people who'd been a family once, who'd been broken apart, who were now finding their way back to each other. It took 6 weeks to process everything. Immigration, documentation, medical clearances. In that time, we went to the village where Ethan had lived, met the family who'd saved him, met the children he'd taught. It was beautiful and heartbreaking at once, seeing this whole life he'd built that I'd never known about. The family Porn and Sumchai and their 3 children welcomed us like we were their family too, because in a way, we were. They'd cared for my son when I couldn't. They'd given him a home when he had nothing. He good man, Porn told me in broken English. Good teacher, good heart. We never know where he come from, just know he need help. Thank you, I said. Thank you for saving my son. She smiled. He save us too. Teach our children, give them hope. He family. Before we left, Ethan made a promise to return, to visit, to maintain the connections he'd built. And I supported that, because those connections were real. That life was real. He'd been Kai longer than he'd been Ethan at this point. The flight home was different from the flight over. We weren't suspended in hope and dread. We knew we had him back. At Atlanta Airport, I felt Ethan tense as we walked through the terminal. What's wrong? I don't remember this place. He looked around. I mean, I know I've been here, but I don't remember it. That's okay. We'll make new memories. We drove to the house. The yellow house with the porch swing on Oakwood Drive. It looked the same but different, smaller somehow. Like memory had made it grander than reality. Ethan stood in the driveway for a long moment. This is it, he said quietly. This is home. We went inside. Sarah had cleaned it top to bottom, made up his old room, put fresh sheets on the bed. But when he walked in, he stood in the doorway looking lost. It's so strange, he said. I remember this room, but it's like remembering a movie I watched, not a place I lived. Give it time. That night, I made apple pie. Ethan stood in the kitchen doorway watching. Want to help? I asked. He stepped in slowly. I don't know if I remember how. 6 apples. Never Granny Smith, he said automatically, then smiled. Okay, maybe I remember a little. We made the pie together. Him reading off ingredients, me guiding his hands, and for a moment, it was like no time had passed at all. Like he was 13 again, standing on a stool, asking why we always cut stars in the top. Because, I said, like I always had, we reach for stars in this family. When the pie was in the oven, we sat at the kitchen table, just the 2 of us. Sarah had gone home to her own family, promising to come back tomorrow. Mom, Ethan said, I need to tell you something. My heart clenched. What? I'm grateful, so grateful, to be here, to know who I am, to have you back, but I'm also grieving, for Kai, for the life I had, that was real too. Those people were my family too. And I feel like I'm betraying them by being here. And I feel like I'm betraying you by missing them. And I don't know how to be both people at once. I reached across the table, took his hand. You don't have to be one or the other. You're Ethan, and you're Kai. You're my son, and you're their teacher. You contain multitudes, sweet boy. You always have. His eyes filled with tears. I'm scared I'll never feel like I belong anywhere now. Then we make a new belonging, one that's big enough for all of you. The timer went off. The pie was ready. We cut it open, the star pattern still there, and ate it warm with vanilla ice cream. And I taught him the last part of the ritual, the part he'd forgotten. Now we each make a wish, I said. On the pie? On the stars. The ones we cut into the crust. He looked down at his plate, at the star-shaped piece of pie. What do you wish for? I wish for you to be happy, wherever that means, whoever that means being. And what do I wish for? Whatever you need. He closed his eyes, made his wish, then looked up at me and smiled. I wish to remember everything, all of it, both lives, so I never forget again. That's a good wish. Later that night, I found him standing in the backyard, looking up at the sky. The stars were bright tonight, unusually clear for Atlanta. Can't sleep? I asked. Too much in my head. He didn't look away from the stars. Did we used to do this? Stand out here and look at the stars? Every clear night when you were little. You wanted to be an astronaut. Did I? You did. Until you discovered books and decided you'd rather read about space than go there. He laughed softly. That sounds like something I'd do. We stood there together, looking up, and then, like it was the most natural thing in the world, I felt him take my hand. See you in the stars, he whispered. See you in the stars, I whispered back. And for the first time in 16 years, I said those words to my son, and meant them not as a goodbye, but as a promise. We were both here, both alive, both under the same sky. It would take time, maybe years, for him to feel at home, for the memories to settle, for our family to learn how to be a family again with this new version of the son and brother we'd lost. But we had time now. That was the miracle. We had time. And as we stood there in the backyard of the yellow house on Oakwood Drive, I realized something. I'd spent 16 years learning to live with loss. Now I had to learn to live with hope again. It was terrifying. And it was beautiful. And it was enough.